at our next meeting, we'll do the same thing, but we just want to make sure that they're aware that they have to follow whatever the state rules are and the county rules are. And it seems like they're changing a lot right now.
Okay, so should we relay to them that we've approved it with a condition?
Well, should you say the condition based on what the rules are at the time? Because it's a moving target?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds great. Okay, I seconded KT's motion.
Aye.
Aye, all in favor.
Sorry.
Okay, so the next item is, I just want to put on paper to relay to Senator Martucci's office, memorializing resolution that says we're officially asking for SUNY impact aid to support the village's municipal water fund. Sure, there's a possibility that we might get federal aid that we could apply, but we don't know. And the alternative is we're going to have to require all municipal connections to our water service to pay a surcharge. And then we've penciled out 20% per quarter surcharges for all customers, or maybe something different, or maybe charging SUNY more, because the problem that we're having is that we've built a system and borrowed a bunch of money to fund the system that assumes we're going to sell a certain amount of water to SUNY, and now SUNY's dorms are 43% full. So that's my motion and the language for this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say out loud, it is really important that the state help us out with this because of what Tim just said. We built this infrastructure because we're a SUNY host community. To pass that cost on to others just doesn't seem fair to me. But I will say that the good news is we are expecting a seated courses in the fall, and would hope that things are going to be looking a lot better in the fall.
Yeah, that'll help. But in the meantime, our creditors want us to
Right.
pay the money that we borrowed. Okay, I motion that we move the village consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did we move, was there a consent agenda for the, no, there was not. Okay, all in favor with that? Okay, so the next item is, we have a tentative budget. It's been circulated to the board, so I hope our board members have taken a look. What I would like to do next is to set a public hearing so the public can comment on this board. So what would happen after tonight, if we adopt this tentative budget as a board, then the draft budget goes public, and then the community can take a look, and then they can comment on it on the hearing that we schedule. So two things. Are we good to go with approving this tentative budget?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second your motion. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like to set a public hearing for the community to comment on the budget. And then like that's the time that we can, this is a tentative budget. We can make changes. If we want to spend money differently, we can. This is just, creating a framework for us to begin this conversation, and so the public can have something to review. So I'd like to motion to set a public hearing for our next meeting. I believe that's March 24th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the next item is Schedule B. So this is from our zoning, section 212 in our code. And I believe this was primarily a housekeeping issue, that it was never updated to reflect some of the zoning changes that we've made over the last couple of years. So I'd like to make a motion to On the 20, we could do it as soon as the 24th. Just, I think it's important that, that, you know, and the phrase that was offered to me by our attorneys, that we can show that there's been legislative intent regarding Schedule B, and that as it currently stands is not what we've intended. You know, the code is the code, and that is what our building department has been using, but it's been confusing to some applicants when they try to reconcile the code with this schedule. So I'd like to make a motion that we, in the near term, clean up Schedule B, so it jives with our existing code.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then this is another important project where we've had a leak at reservoir number 4. So some water leaks out to the south of the reservoir, and we've worked with engineers to come up with a plan. We've looked at materials, and we have a plan that would cost about $300,000 to fix this leak in the reservoir. Depending on hydrostatic pressure, it can be 30 gallons per minute. So what we're going to do is advertise starting March 18th, and then ask contractors to bid, submit responses, and then we would open the bids on April 1st at 1 p.m. So this is also a project that we anticipate getting reimbursement from the DEP. It's part of the intergovernmental agreement that we have with them that would include them reimbursing us for water projects in the amount of $2.6 million.
Is that a liner issue?
It's not really a liner. It's you know, because the reservoir is basically you know, a pond with rocks on the bottom, and for whatever reason it's leaking. And so I don't know the material that will be used to fix it. You know, it could be some sort of mud or clay or tile or something. You know, we've investigated a few options.
Yeah, I thought 4 was a liner, but I'm mistaken, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So this is just motioning that we're going to advertise the bid docs.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then the next item is a trickier situation. If you all read this letter from our building department, it's a little bit unclear to me what our responsibility is. It seems like our building department has cited some issues regarding the condition of the building at 34 Church Street. I'm not 100% certain what action we should or could take, or what's our responsibility.
Well, I mean, they basically wants to say it's uninhabitable, right? Didn't we have to do
So-
something? Do you know, Alex?
I mean, so if it's an uninhabitable building, then it's an uninhabitable building. It's just, I just wanted to note it is a rental building. So, you know, our rental registry law makes it very clear, as does, I think there's some good case law, like from Attorney General, like findings from over the years, but our local law makes it very clear that if a building is found to, you know, be in violation of various laws and stuff, like that landlord's going to be responsible for putting all those people up. So just wanted to point that out, you know, in temporary housing until it's resolved, and then, you know, they're up to code and able to be like a properly registered rental again. So that's the part I know.
Yeah, no, I thank you for bringing that up. That's 100% truth. And yeah, I think I agree.
how does
Like,
this-
either
how does this-
Corey determines that it's that or not. That's not on us. But I do remember we had to do something else recently where we had to do something.
Yeah, but KT, what you're referring to, I believe, is a structurally compromised barn. There were no people living in the barn. So this is a very different situation.
No, I just meant procedurally. In answer to your question, what are we supposed to be doing?
Yeah, but procedurally, I think it is different because this includes people and a barn did not include people. Like,
Right.
like, are these people then evicted? Are they displaced? Like, who pays? for
Well,
their
according to-
So they're not, you can't evict people when they're sorry. I didn't mean to talk over everyone.
Well, I think we were both like, no.
I mean, so it's 129-12, you know, that part of our rental registry law, that's about, you know, enforcement and penalties for offenses. Each day that a violation shall can continue to constitute separate violation, at the discretion of the building department. And mind you, in the first section of this law, it does include, like, you know, violations of state housing laws, you know, and state fire code also constitute at any point a violation of our local registry. So anyway, it's up to the code enforcement official to file charges with respect to those violations. They may issue and serve appearance tickets when he or she has reasonable cause to believe that such violation or offense has been committed. For every violation of this chapter, the owner, you know, shall be subject to the fines set annually by resolution of the Board of Trustees as part of the fee schedule and at the discretion of the code enforcement official. And blah, 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 blah. In addition to the foregoing, the Board of Trustees may maintain an action or proceeding in the name of the village in a court of competent jurisdiction to compel compliance with or to restrain by injunction the violation of this chapter. So that's like how that all works. And then there's the whole part. Let me find it. In the event, wait, is that it? The part about putting people up, because it's tenants, it's very different than like the barn. Yeah, I mean, we have so much stuff in here that like it's, you know, the code enforcement official issues, you know, violations and appearance tickets, and then there is a mechanism where we can do like, you know, the courts and stuff, but our law makes it very clear that when it's, you know, this type of violation, like the owner has to house in temporary housing all affected tenants, and if they want a chance to remedy the situation. It's a pretty good law we have. I like it.
Okay.
Right, but I think Corey and the building department and Holly have shared this letter with us. I don't see us getting involved in taking action. There's no, like, reading the letter, there's no, they're not asking us to do anything.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate for us to do anything unless the code enforcement official, you know, finds they've like issued this, like, you know, this notice. Let's see what else. You know,
Towards
if
the
there
end
are
of-
current tenants, they must be vacated and placed in temporary housing as per 129-7E. So like that whole part's like laid out. Like our part doesn't come in unless, like, you know, the code enforcement official. So unless Corey like actually like asks the village board to weigh in, and it gets to the point of like a court injunction, which I don't think has ever happened, it seems, from what I could find.
So in the letter, towards the end, before the last set of bullet points, it says, come to the decision to make notice to the village board of the situation and ask for a review under chapter 90. We further recommend that the building be determined as unsafe. So I feel like that's what the village board is supposed to be doing, is what is making that is like officially making that determination, is what the request is.
Has this never happened before, that we never had to do this? I feel like this happened.
We did with the barn.
Well, again, the
It's
point being that
different.
it's not residential.
Yeah, when it's someone's domicile, it's a very different
We did it,
mechanism.
there was a small business that was being used as a residence on, that we did it with at one point, but I think that, I mean, the situations are so context specific.
So, I mean, when the building department, like with, my horrible, rental situation and like an apartment that turned out to have been like just so legal, like, the tiny rooms. Yeah, anyway, with that whole thing, and it was deemed by the building department unfit, uninhabitable, et cetera. It didn't require, village board injunction because the owner of the property was given their, their violation, they're given their chance to remedy it. And then like that didn't happen. Instead, they illegally evicted me, and it is not a residential place anymore. Like they lost their ability to like have tenants.
All right, well, the bottom line is if we're supposed to do something, we don't even know what we're supposed to do, so we can't do it tonight anyway. So we need
I
to
don't think
find
we are
out-
supposed to do anything
What?
yet.
Well, there's this review, there is language that Ari just pointed out, but we need to just find out more information. Was this an FYI? Are we expected to do something? PS, and by the way, if this happens, make sure that everyone is aware of the law RE, making sure people are housed. Right?
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, like the chapter 90 recommendation was like the barn approach, it wasn't a domicile. It's
That's the
a
only time
different thing.
that's the only time I've ever seen anything like this, and that barn still stands today.
I was wondering about that.
I actually walked by it today and saw it. So.
I actually thought this was that when I clicked on it, and I was like, oh no, it's farther. Yeah.
Okay, well, clearly we need to look,
Yeah.
explain to us. I'm going to move on to some other items. I'd like to move the resolution regarding the renewal of the Community Choice Aggregation Program, bills and claims, and the 2020 or 2021 appointing election inspector as altogether as 3 different resolutions.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
I wanted to just mention this publicly. So I have a draft response to the DEP because we received a notice because we have not paid approximately, well, at least in the last monthly cycle, about $40-something thousand to New York City for the water that we buy for them from the Catskill Aqueduct. And we're facing some serious cash flow problems. So I wrote a response that I wanted to send to the DEP, and I ran it by our attorneys, and it goes like this. We are facing, and I want village board approval before I send this to the DEP. We are facing significant cash flow problems because of COVID and having to wait longer than expected to receive reimbursements from the DEP. For example, dorms at SUNY New Paltz are only approximately 43% full, so our revenues are down, and we are awaiting over $400,000 in reimbursements from the DEP that we feel are long overdue. We have had to borrow $400,000 and are paying interest just to keep our operation afloat. So that's the note that I want to send to the DEP in response to our unpaid bill. Is the village board okay with that?
yes.
I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna go ahead and send that. Bill and Michelle, did you guys say you were okay with that as well?
I said yes.
Okay, sounds good. I'm good with, it seems like there were, it says affordable housing incentives. Oh, that was related to zoning. I think we just have to circle back.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
that was, we gotta look and see about that senior housing density thing.
Yeah,
But I'm
because
too
currently,
tired. Let's do that another time.
yeah, there's some pretty significant incentives to build affordable housing in our code, and we need to make sure that that jives with, well, no, I'm sorry, there are significant incentives to receive density bonuses if you build senior housing. So we want to see if that makes sense with affordable housing initiatives. Do we want to do, and then I think, Alex, you were going to get back to us with a updated version of this resolution regarding student loan debt.
Yeah, I want to work on it a little bit more. You know, so it's in the agenda as a preview, but it's going to get better.
I think we just got an update from our code enforcement official.
Did. Here, I'm copying and pasting the section of the code that he's referencing. So it's 90-5 and 90-6, the determination of Board of Trustees. So basically, Corey doesn't have the authority to do anything but inspect and make recommendations. And this is a recommendation, and the village board, the code reads, the Board of Trustees shall thereafter consider such report by resolution, and by resolution determine if in its opinion, the report so warrants that such building is an unsafe structure as defined in 90-2, and order its repair if the same can be safely repaired, or its demolition and removal. And further order that a notice be served upon the persons in the manner provided in 90-7 of this chapter. So it
Right.
is on you guys to make that
So,
determination based on this letter.
Is this letter a report, or is there another report that is being summarized in this letter? Because I don't see how this letter alone would be enough for us to say that we should take such a significant action.
I believe that this letter is that request.
So it's a report. This letter is a report.
No, is the request, is the recommendation, is this letter.
Yeah, but if
That's-
you read the code, it says after reviewing the report, right? The thing you just forwarded it to us.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
90-6.
Okay, so the code enforcement official shall make an inspection thereof and report in writing to the Board of Trustees the findings and recommendations in regard to its repair, demolition, and removal. So I think that what this is the findings and recommendations. If you guys don't want to act on this tonight, by no means do you have to.
Yeah,
I'm just providing you with the information. I think that the request is there because the building department would like you to act on this tonight.
I don't even know what that, I don't know what that means. We're supposed to act. I don't know.
It's a determination, and that's what they requested in the letter. We further recommend that the building be determined as unsafe.
So there's
what I'm
another
hearing
step
from
here,
Tim, and
though.
I agree with is that there's not enough information here for us to make this determination. I mean, I don't know what I need to know more, but it seems like a major big deal, and we don't feel confident that the details that have been provided to us are enough. But the onus is on us to say, well, what more do we need to know about this?
I know what I need to know. Sorry.
Very good.
Because I can't access it in our current, yeah. I need to know how many people, how many residents, like, you know, this affects. And if we can, it would be really helpful to also have like a sense of, you know, like, I don't know if we could know this or not, but like it would just, you know, the total cost of this, you know, because basically like this is going to be something like the property owner is going to have to fix, and for the duration of fixing it, they're going to have to pay to house X amount of people for that amount of time. So like that's a huge lift. So I just need to be able to fill in those blanks to feel comfortable responding. Sorry.
There were references to people leaving because of the situation, but there's no numbers on how many people left and how many people are still there.
But if people are leaving because of the conditions, like they're, you know, they should be taking that to court with this, you know, and say like, hey, this landlord owes me like X amount of months of, you know, rent where I've had to go elsewhere. You know, that's up to them in court. What?
It sounds like it's not explicit. It's implied that they let them lend their and their leases early.
Yeah, I feel like that's like not report information. I feel like that's subjective. Like I want to know how many people rent there, you know, and therefore are owed housing for the duration of this being remedied. And then we can order the remedy.
Okay, so you want to know how many people would be impacted by this determination and what else?
There's a lot of problems with this
Yeah.
entire conversation, because even our housing standards law, I don't think that we're the ones who deliberate on whether a landlord may have violated it or not. I think a judge does that, not the village board.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I think this landlord wants us to do this because they can't get this person out of the. I'm coming 30,000 feet saying, how in the world is this the remedy for this situation? It sounds like there's someone who has serious sanitation, serious issues in this building, and like. So let's play it out like how we like to say, what's the scenario, right? What are we that they're gonna get evicted? Are they gonna get resources to help? This is a person in need.
Yeah, I see this as so there's somebody who, at least one person who's going to be impacted by this, like whatever the remedy is. Clearly, like they say in this report that like it's unsanitary conditions, like the whole building's like ruined and it needs to be remedied. So like if the building department needs us to make, you know, a decision on that, like then it gets passed to the court, you know what I mean? Like that's not like, but like the remedy isn't someone being evicted. You can't be evicted for an unsafe condition. Like, you know, like that's like you can't be evicted for something that like the building department and a board would say this is unsafe, because the next step is like, you know, pretty clear that like those people would have to be supported while the problem is remedied by the property owner. Like
Right.
the property owner is responsible for the property being safe and sanitary. Like it's not anyone else's problem.
So, right. So effectively, the village board has already taken action on that because this legislation already exists. It's not our job to determine whether that's what the court is for. So we've already done our job. We're only a legislative board. We're not a judicial board.
I think we're like supposed I think we can order an injunction if the building department like isn't going to, you know, go ahead and like bring this to the court and stuff, you know, to make that next step, which is like what happens to all members involved, you know?
Right. And I think we need to talk to the building department because it's an unsafe building, and so the residents inside there it's unsafe. That's my, you know, big concern for the safety of everyone who lives there. So maybe we need to have a conversation with like, what is the best next step? I don't know that answer exactly.
But even if we sign off and say, our building department has performed this review, we're in agreement of, chapter 90-5. I would still imagine that that determination then has to go to a court.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's clear in 129 that like we can't, like if the building department isn't going to bring this to the court, we can order the injunction.
So,
And sure, we can go ahead and do that, but like that's going to cost the property owner more probably, like and stressed for a lot of people. So, this is heavy.
I mean,
People's
this-
lives are.
Should mobile mental health go to this? Has mobile mental health? Like, is that what they do? Is this a situation, that they could attend to? It says
again, that's not what this agenda item is about.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
No, this agenda item's about a bad building that people are being subjected to, and like the landlords aren't remedying it. Instead, they're pulling our taxpayer resources into their situation instead of taking care of the property. Like this agenda item, I think it's pretty clear, like pieces of the code bounce back and forth. Like if there's no human beings involved in the building, it's just a barn, it's more simple, because the remedy doesn't involve housing other people. But the remedy for a building that's occupied by renters by our local code, like the remedy, like it involves taking care, like fixing that problem in a time, it says in the code, deemed by like the building department. And if there are tenants of that property, like during the remedy being done, and they would be displaced for this, thing to be fixed, they must be housed. And like there's another thing in there where if like between the building department determining like, hey, you have to fix this, here's the law, here's the steps, and then they say, hey, we can't do it with the tenant here, the next step is, well, actually the law says you have to put the tenant up. If that doesn't all work, then it comes back to us and then we order the court injunction. So those are the steps.
Right, but Alex, right, so I think what you're describing though, with chapter 129, the tenant has to pursue that protection based on what it says in the village board written code. We don't take an action, we don't have any standing.
I don't think there's anything like that. It's just you're not allowed to displace someone because you're like fixing a building because it wasn't, because it was determined not up to par, like that doesn't make a tenant
Right, so
evicted.
if a landlord displaces somebody, then they could lose their ability to register their rental.
Well, yeah, I mean, it says very clearly in our law, if you break any housing laws, both on the state and local level, you lose your ability to register your properties. And not just the one that had the problem, by the way, all of them. That's like in the first part of 129.
About the level of safety in this building, but we're also not comfortable taking action this evening. So I think we need to learn more and come back to this.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, so do we want to get any updates regarding ZBA or planning board? There was a ZBA meeting last night. Can someone tell us what happened?
Yes. So the Ann Oliver House was put forth, and they're going to have an emergency, not an emergency meeting, but a special meeting on March 30th to just move it along a little faster and not wait for the next ZBA.
Is that a public hearing they scheduled for the 30th?
Yeah, I think Alana is in the works of doing all the noticing necessary.
And is that for the one variance or for two variances? That's for the use variance?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was glad that they called for to have that special meeting just to move it along.
Great. Bill, anything planning board related?
Oh, let me get my notes. They didn't meet last week.
Oh, didn't they discuss the New Paltz Apartments though? I thought they did have a meeting, or maybe that wasn't a public meeting. Was that like something else?
That was something else.
It was some, I don't know
Yeah.
what. Okay, we don't have anything else as a board this evening, right? We can motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Aye. Good night.
Aye. Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank you.
night.